The mind is its own place, and in itself, it can make a heaven of a hell or a hell of a heaven. Hey there, hit pause on whatever you're watching. Take a slow, heavy breath. And just drop your shoulders away from your ears for a second. I know you press play on this video because your chest feels like it's locked in a vice and your nervous system's been running a marathon for days. You're exhausted from carrying the crushing weight of 1,000 disasters. You are safe right now. You don't have to fake being okay. My name's Julie, and today we're going to look right into the dark, heavy mechanics of what your anxiety is actually doing to you. If your mind's going to trap us in a perpetual loop of psychological suffering, we've got to name it for what it is, not with cheap jokes, but with absolute honesty about how scary and how lonely it feels to live inside a body that treats daily life like a war zone. Let's dive in. You know, it reminds me of my mate Jono in Sydney, who spent months paralysed by a quiet, consuming fear that every delayed text, stray chest pain was the beginning of the end. He wouldn't turn on his light for days, sitting in the gloom, wrapped in a blanket, convinced that the walls were closing in and that he was entirely alone in his descent. That's what chronic anxiety does to us. It turns the quiet corners of our mind into a prison cell. We stop living in the room we're actually in and start serving a life sentence in a reality that hasn't happened yet. Take the seeker like Shazza, laying in bed at midnight, scrolling through the darkest corners of her phone because sleep feels too vulnerable, too much like letting go of control. A video pops up, dim, chaotic, scary, and her fingers freeze. Does she close the app and find peace? Nah, because her nervous system's been wired for threat detection for such a long time that it devours the bad news like fuel. Her heart rate spikes, her breath shallowly catches in her throat, and her mind immediately builds a suffocating cage out of what ifs. She isn't watching a video. Her body is reacting as though she's physically cornered, bleeding out in the dark, desperately trying to survive a catastrophe that exists only in her head. If Sharon's inner monologue sounds like your daily internal weather report, you are intimately familiar with the eightfold path of pure psychological torment. Let's look at the heavy machinery of what you've been carrying. Start with future orientation, that relentless, exhausting habit of bracing for a meteor strike that never arrives while your mind constructs high-definition scenarios for tomorrow. There is your profound intolerance for ambiguity, where the sheer fear of not knowing what comes next causes your ego to demand an impossible, ironclad guarantee of safety from a universe that offers none. We sink into an internal locus of control, feeling like helpless victims tossed in a hurricane. Bad vibes. And we trap ourselves in emotional rumination, replaying old heartbreaks and mistakes in the dark until we're sweating from shame that happened years ago. We broadcast our internal despair globally, feeling like our soul is dissolving into a black hole just because the baseline of life feels too heavy, completely losing the ability to compartmentalize a single bad moment so that it bleeds out over everything until your entire life feels like a crater. And right now, your atomic nervous system is performing quiet miracles just to keep you breathing through the tightness in your chest. And yet, the moment a shadow crosses your mind, your internal machinery shifts into a weird, frantic overdrive. Your body floods with stress hormones, your breath locks up, and you're left sitting in a wreckage of your own thoughts, wondering how a mind so brilliant at surviving ended up torturing you so effectively. Your brain isn't broken, it's just a deeply traumatized guardian trying to protect you from ghosts. As the old saying goes, the mind is a field. We spend all day watering the seeds of dread, isolation, and spiritual exhaustion. We grow a thick, choking jungle of suffering. Take a deep breath. Let this raw truth settle into your bones and remember, you aren't cursed. You're just a human being who has been surviving a war zone inside your own head for far too long.